Number 16 is covered in section number 11 of lesson 15 4. Match each region in the Venn diagram below with the correct term in the list. We're given the following words: kites, polygons, rhombi, isosceles trapezoids, quadrilaterals, squares, parallelograms, rectangles, and trapezoids. If you notice, we have 9 vocab words down here at the bottom. We have section A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That is 9 separate sections. So we are going to try to categorize each one of these, and we're actually going to do this question all together. Now, all of these items have what characteristic in common? What are all of these? What is the biggest subset? Okay. Every single one of these items here in the bottom, these terms are all considered polygons. So my big circle, circle A, is all these in common are polygons. Okay. Section B. Section B is what are all of these a type of? Kites, rhombi, isosceles trapezoids, squares, parallelograms, rectangles, trapezoids are all what we considered quadrilaterals because they are all four-sided figures. So, section B covers all my quads. Now, once we use a word, we cannot use it again, so keep that in mind. C is a little section of quads, and it has a subsection of that. So, let's take a look. So basically, it's like 2 items and one's trapped inside of another item, okay? Well, we know that isosceles and trapezoids kind of hold their own characteristics. Remember, those trapezoids is where you only have one pair of parallel sides. So we can't technically call them a parallelogram because remember, parallelograms, both sides of opposite sides are parallel. So with a trapezoid, that's going to be section C. And a subset of a trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid. So section D, because it's contained fully in C, is a specific type of trapezoid, which is the isosceles trapezoid. Okay. Now, of the words kites, rhombi, squares, parallelograms, and rectangles, there's one all by itself. Which one of these words is not like the others? I agree, kites. Kites, recall, that means that your 2 consecutive sides are congruent. So I is going to be kites. Now, of the 4 words over in this section, the E, F, G, H, which one is the center section? Which means H would have all the characteristics of F and all the characteristics of G. But there's a section of G that does not have characteristics in common with F, and vice versa for F to G. But E is a characteristic of all 3 of these. So, I believe if we look at these, all of these, if you recall those definitions, as it said when we went to rhombus, rhombi is the plural form of rhombus. Okay, so rhombi, squares, and rectangles are all a subcategory of a parallelogram, because if you recall those definitions, it was a parallelogram with a parallelogram with, and it kept going on from there. So E is my subset called parallelograms. Now, if you recall, when we went back here to this definition, square had the 4 right angles and the 4 congruent sides. So those were the same. So they had the characteristics of both of them. So H is my square. Now the question is G the rhombus or is G the rectangle? And the same goes for F. Is F the rhombus or the rectangle? Actually, these two can be used interchangeably because the only thing that's different is that they're separated, but they do share characteristics with H. So we're going to put F and G, and we're going to say this is either rhombi or rectangle. This one's either going to be rectangle or rhombi. So it can't represent both. So these are used interchangeably. I can either call G the rhombus or the rectangle, and I can either call F the rhombus or the rectangle. I just can't call them both the same thing. On to the next set of questions.